to another what if topic, and this time I'm going to discuss what if Tristan and Rico met as far as like a hangout. Now in the past, when Rico and I just barely met and we just slowly started developing our friendship, right? We got to hang out with a couple of longtime friends. Russ, I remember we did Belmont Shore right in the beginning of 2012. I think that was like, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like the 2nd of January when when I think I picked up both Rico and Russ, and we just hung out at Belmont Shore, and it didn't really go that well for Rico, who just didn't really feel Russ like that. And as far as Dewey, he was okay with him. So I met Dewey on that same year that Rico met Dewey, except I met Dewey through Russ in June of that same year, which was 2012, right? And that was also the same time that that Julio met Russ. So we were all just hooping, in Magnolia, my former high school, right? So yeah, we just I remember me and Julio, and it was mostly me and Julio, and sometimes Chris. We would be hooping over there in the basketball courts in Magnolia. Well, I don't even know if I have a chance anymore since it's gated, and obviously the entire school looks so different. And speaking of Magnolia High School, I may do a topic sometime. I don't know if it's going to be later today or tomorrow, most likely, where I'm going to talk about just wondering if there is already another high school reunion, since 2025 just passed last year. And I remember we did that 10-year reunion in 2015. I went. Also, Chris was there. I went with Diana. Diana was my guest at the time. If I'm not mistaken, I think Anastasia was there too. And I think I've seen a few familiar faces, and I forgot. I know it's somewhere in Long Beach, but and I think it was like in some restaurant and bar, and I already forgot what it's called, right? So I know I've seen a few familiar faces there. Peter Lee was one of them, and yeah, I can vaguely remember the rest of the people, but yeah, I remember there was a high school reunion, in that bar. I forgot what it's called. Is it like Dueling Pianos or something like that? I could be wrong, but I know it was in Long Beach, so not that far off from the Bay. And I think at one point, me and Diana I think we veered off to the we took off for a little bit, and I think we went to the pier area. What was it called? The San Pedro Fish Market. It's right by the bay, right? So we were there for a little bit, and then after that, we just went back to that restaurant. So yeah, I don't mean to go off topic here, but I just thought I may discuss, if it's a possibility that there is another high school reunion in 2025. That was just last year, so that would have already been or marked 20 years since I graduated from that school, right? So look, getting back to this topic, so Rico got to see a couple of guys, Russ and then Dewey. I think also, and this was shortly after I started working, started my job in that dump, when obviously Rico's the one that recruited me. And I think that we got to watch a movie. I forgot if it was the Batman movie or what, I think it was like another Batman movie. I'm trying my best to remember, but I remember me and Rico watched a movie over there in Krikorian with Carlos. Okay, and I think at that same on that same night, I think me and Carlos hung out at Halloween Hot. I'm trying to remember because it was on a Saturday, so I could have sworn because the video's still up, not on this platform, not on this channel, but it was in another channel, Erich Holla 990, that I can no longer access. That video is up there, the one with me and Carlos at Halloween Hot, and that was in 2012. So I remembered me and Rico watched the movie together with Carlos. So he's got to meet, a couple of the Nutballer members, my Nutballer friends, right? So, I think Rico has already met. He hasn't seen the boss. He hasn't seen, Robbie. He has seen Julio though. We did get to ball with him. I think, how was it? I know sometime 2012. Yeah, 2012 in Magnolia, and also in 2014 in Artesia Park, where, we balled a couple of times there, and it was good the first time. The second time, it just didn't go well. I'm not going to get into details about that, but yeah, he has seen Julio a couple of times. Let me tell you something about Rico, though. Just like Tristan, Rico has a very strong personality, and he even admitted it to me. Tristan, I know Tristan has a very strong personality too, but he just never told me about it. But I knew it through him, like all these years that we've hung out. Even just, before Tristan got to know guys like Robbie and even Bobby, and later on Julio and Alexis, and then even when we reunited Russ and Dewey, and I already knew that, I already knew Tristan wasn't going to even like Russ like that. He wasn't feeling him like that either. Just knowing what his personality is, right? So look, man, my thing is, and I've been trying to do this. I've tried to plan it, but unfortunately, it just never did. For as long as Tristan has been here in California before he moved to Washington, right? And who knows if Rico is still here in California at this point. Last time I heard from him, he actually lived in Buena Park, so not that far off from where I live. You know what I'm saying? But here's my thing: what if Rico and Tristan met? What if they met through a hangout? How would Rico view Tristan? Now, obviously, again, Rico was not feeling Russ. He was okay with Dewey, right? Carlos, I vaguely remember his reaction, but I don't want to really guesstimate what his reaction was, but all I remember is that when it came to Russ, he wasn't really feeling him like that. And for the most part, I think after that one basketball, hangout with Julio, Rico wasn't feeling him either. So, when it comes to Tristan, I know Tristan is introverted, right? He's not very talkative like that in general. Even when we've hung out in groups with guys like Robbie and Julio, right? So I can only imagine what a hangout would be like, if these guys have met. Will it be smooth? Will it be, will there be awkward moments? I mean, I'm sure these guys, I think Rico would definitely initiate the conversation, ask about a few questions about Tristan, how'd you guys meet, this and that, but, let's say if I was driving and, you could go either way. If Tristan's driving or I'm driving, or let's just say we go somewhere and I carpool and, let's say if I make some mistake, this and that, I can see both of those guys being very critical of me. I know how ultra critical Tristan has always been with me. He's like the top notch. It's almost like, you know, he owns the whole you know, like being critical of my mistakes, all that. I mean, since we were what, almost neighbors, right? I know we literally lived like 2-3 minutes close from one another. You know, at the time that he was still here, right? So I wonder if, because I know Tristan has more to like life experience, and you know, I like of all the other guys like Tristan that Rico met, and Tristan has got to be, you know, at his level as far as like maturity. And remember, both of those guys are you know, have very strong personalities. So I just wonder how Rico would feel. Let's just say if this happened, like, you know, right after both of us, you know, had already reconnected our friendships. I remember that one time Rico and I didn't really, like, we had this, you know, this awkward silence for like about a few months after some misunderstanding. After we did that Centerpoint logo project together, we collaborated on that, and then, you know, there was some misunderstanding there at the end of the project. We didn't talk for a while other than work, and then we eventually started to you know, to slowly reunite our, you know, just being cool again. Everything's healing, like about around June, and then going to July, and we were all good, right? Tristan, meanwhile, I thought it got to a point where, you know, I think Tristan just really forgot about me, right? And then all of a sudden, you know, after how many times I begged for him to come back, and we reunited in mid-September, if I'm not mistaken. So let's just say if we like hung out, and, you know, I wonder how Rico would view Tristan. If I had to take a wild guess, I think he would be cool with Tristan, just because Tristan just has more to like life experience, much like Rico does, right? You know, I think both of those guys are into photography. I know Rico likes to take pictures, you know, really do professional photography, and so is Tristan. I mean, I've seen his gallery and on his Instagram that Them's the Breaks account. He uses that for his professional photography every time he goes to Yosemite or any other national parks in California or just in any other state, right? So Tristan has more to like his talent, and, you know, especially, you know, in his life experience, right? As much as Rico. I know Rico's married and has a wife and has a kid. So how old is this kid now? I wonder. Probably like close to 15 years old. I could be wrong, but probably, yeah. I know she has to be over 10 years old by now. But yeah, I think Rico would probably be cool with Tristan. And I think with Tristan, it'll be the same way, right? So I think those guys will be cool. I know they have very strong personalities. I don't think there will be any clashing moments. I know there will be some times when, you know, one or both of those guys would clown around me, right? If I make a mistake or just like a little slip up here and there, because I know both of those guys would love to clown me like that and be pretty critical. And I know it gets annoying sometimes with how they view some of my mistakes. But, you know, in the end, I think those guys would be cool. But that's just how I feel about this whole what if situation here. But I know it's not going to happen, and unfortunately Tristan is already my ex-close friend. For as hard as I've been on this guy in many of my other videos, and, you know, in regard to, like, you know, how our friendship just went about and how it ended and all that. Rico's still around, but, you know, right now I think he's just, I don't know, he's got his own life, you know what I'm saying? Still doing graphic design for sure, just probably just jumping from company to company, right? Who knows at this point? But yeah, this is all I just want to say about it. I don't want to go on too long here, so this is just my take on it. All right, so you tell me what you think. Peace. Thank you for watching, everyone. Like, share, and subscribe.